Hey everyone, it's your favorite cheesy doctor. Dr. Scott and I have a collaborative video here that was filmed at the Cleveland Gaming Classic with several YouTube and Instagram friends like Johnny Graphics, Game Dad and Square Pegs J Malone, Cosplayer Michelle Gray, Brian and Ron from Retro Trade, Mysticles, the Tech Buzz Gaming Stephen Haywood, Lindsay from LL Cool Games, John Riggs, Frank from the Retro Wildlands, and I will finish things up at the end.
This doesn't work.
Sit back and enjoy because I know I had a good time and I guarantee you will too. Here we go.
For me? He think?
Hey everybody, we're here at CGC, the Cleveland Gaming Classic 2024. I'm here with my good friend Johnny Graphics from the YouTube channel Johnny Graphics. I have a question that I'm asking everybody in this little collab video, and the question is there a game from long past that you absolutely could not stand? You just didn't like the game. And then over time, even though it may have sat in your collection or you repurchased it or somebody turned you onto it, it is now something that you actually regard a lot more highly and you'll play it. Or on the opposite side of that coin, is there a game that you used to really like that did not hold up very well over time, and to you now personally, not the world at large, but to you personally, you just can't go back and play it just because it didn't hold up for you?
When I was a kid, there were games that didn't really fit my lifestyle, that didn't really that just didn't feel like a good fit for me. But I didn't really hate games so much.
Okay.
But I would say, around the PS2 era, the Dynasty Warriors games and the Samurai Warriors games, those I liked the aesthetic and I liked the style of them, but they were just so shallow to me. And this was at a time when, everybody, if you remember, everybody's wanting bigger and better, bigger and better. I want bigger games, I want better graphics, I want more open spaces, and that's just what everybody was chasing this. And now that we've reached that in gaming, we've reached sort of a pinnacle of like these massive, Elden Ring and all these types of games are so huge.
Monsters.
Now there's this sort of this reaction in the other direction where people are like, please scale it back, relax. I only have so much free time in my life. And so that's kind of where I'm at. So now I look back on these Dynasty Warriors games on the PS2 and the PS3, and that's like perfect for me now. That's just pitch perfect for the limited amount of free time that I have now as an adult. And again, I don't even have kids, so I don't know how people with kids are doing it. But it's just so, the free time is limited, and I don't want to learn a million different systems. I don't want to spend hours and hours goofing around in menus. I just want to play a game and have some fun and then be done with it and go on to do other things. So the Dynasty Warriors games for me are like perfectly emblematic of that, because other than 9, all of them are roughly the same idea, just bigger,
Bigger, better, faster.
Well, better graphics and more people to fight and stuff like that. But generally they're all the same idea. And so now that my lifestyle is so different, it fits perfectly in there. So it's, I would say that, those games haven't changed all that much, at least fundamentally, but I have. And so now I'm at a place where I can really enjoy them. And I love those games now.
So now the older, simpler games are something that you will more return to.
Absolutely, and that's why I play a lot of indie games and a lot of just smaller games in general now. When I was younger, I thought games that were behind the times or too small or too simple, I kind of looked down on them.
Okay.
Now it's like that's all I want to play now. So
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Well, thank you, Johnny. Thank you for stopping by. And I think we're going to have to pop somebody else in here right about now. We have our good friends, Game Dad and Jay from Square Pegs, and everybody knows Game Dad as Chris if we use his maiden name.
Yes, my maiden name, Chris.
Yes.
The game that I really liked when I first played it, and then it wasn't over time, it was a pretty much immediate, I went from loving it to not liking it anymore, was GoldenEye.
GoldenEye.
I loved GoldenEye when I first played it, and I think over time I realized that it's not really a very good game. It's not terribly well made. The aiming sucks. The controls aren't wonderful. And I just grew past it real fast. Like, it went from something I really enjoyed playing multiplayer to being something that we never really played anymore. South Park actually took its place as something we played multiplayer because we had more fun with that.
Yeah.
Those snowballs, baby.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, these
Absolutely.
snowballs.
I can answer both of those variations. All right. And it was because the game got worse over time. But also, I grew up more. The Call of Duty franchise.
Okay.
I used to love the games back, like, even before World at War. Those original Call of Duty games, those were a lot of fun. I had a ton of fun with, like, the original Modern Warfare 2, and then they just kind of fell off for me. They became nothing more than a way to just get your butt kicked online. And I know it's like, oh, well, you just got to get good. Well, I don't have time for that crap. I want to play a game, not get my ass kicked.
You're a game dad, damn it.
Yeah, damn it. So Call of Duty is one that I liked and I just don't care at all about anymore.
Okay.
And then one that I didn't like, but I have definitely grown much more of an appreciation for, is the original Final Fantasy games. I don't like turn-based combat. I've never been a fan of it.
Nor do I.
However, I really wanted to play at least some of the original Final Fantasy games because I had never experienced them. So when the Pixel Remaster HD came out for the Switch, I didn't get it right away, but I did end up picking it up, and I finished Final Fantasy 1, 2, and 3, and now I'm partway through 4.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they're like the original ones. So did 100% completion on the original Final Fantasy 1, then on 2, the Japanese one, and then on 3, also Japanese, I believe. And then now I'm on 4, which I think was the US Final Fantasy 2. 3, I don't know. It's weird, but I'm going through all of them that are on the Pixel Remaster.
That really captivates me because I don't like turn-based at all.
So they have a lot of quality of life improvements in them. Like, if to help with grinding and stuff, they have auto battle. You can go in and you can turn-based choose what you want to do, or if it's like, well, I'm going to just keep hitting attack for the next 17 rounds, just turn on auto battle and it'll just do it for you rapid fire.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, or if it's like, I don't want to take 7 steps and every time I do, I run into some monster, I'm just trying to get to this town, you can turn off automatic encounters.
Okay.
So you can do that stuff, and then a couple of the later ones in it, they even have it where you can get up to 4 times XP in coins if you wanted to. Or, I'm sorry, for Final Fantasy purists, guild. But, yeah, no, I find those quality of life improvements make it so that I can enjoy a game that has a combat style that I really don't enjoy.
Okay.
Yeah, and the stories have been great. Like, Final Fantasy 2, terrible leveling system. I did not mind the story of it at all. Final Fantasy 1 was just kind of like, okay, yeah, it's a game, it's all right. 3 so far has been my favorite. It had an amazing story. It was a ton of fun to play, and so far 4 has also been really good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just say, we definitely have Michelle Gray here. And we've had to re-film this, and that's the fun of this basement channel. And you can find all of her links down below in case you heard her say her links from a minute ago. And that was stupid. But anyway.
I love both questions. The thing that I think that maybe didn't hold up is when I was a kid, my grandmother bought a Nintendo 64 at a garage sale for probably $10 or less.
Okay.
Lord knows. And it was new. I mean, it had recently come out at the time. And we were playing DK64, Donkey Kong 64. Loved it as a kid, thought it was challenging, thought that there was so much to it because you could switch characters. You could switch characters with different challenges. And then we replayed it recently, within the past year, and I'm thinking, feels kind of empty in parts of it. Like, I loved it from the nostalgia standpoint in the beginning. And then I'm like, I don't know, it's, you know, something about it. It just gets a little sleepy on you, and it's dark. The levels are really dark.
Okay.
So it's actually really hard to see when you're not, you know, brand new and young. I might be younger than you, but, you know, I'm not as young as I was.
You're not a little kid,
tough,
so.
You know, and you know, we found ourselves messing with the TV picture settings just to see what was going on.
Wow.
But I forgot your second question.
Well, is there a game that you did not like that now you do care for because of one reason or another, you gave it another chance?
Yeah, I think the biggest was that, now I feel bad that we have to cut it out. What's the game we were saying? And I ended up in love with it. What was I playing that I loved? And I was like, I can't believe I didn't play this. Terraria.
Terraria, okay.
Terraria. My husband, our friends tried so hard to get me into Terraria. Everyone's at least played Terraria. Well, I don't know if you played Terraria.
No, I've seen it. I don't know if it's my kind of game. So maybe I'll give it a try.
For me, I was like, I don't know if it's my kind of game in general. Like, I do like, you know, maybe 3D platformers and things like that. And I don't know. For me, it was not there. I tried it, and I recently went back to it. and we have just a abhorrent amount of hours on it, honestly, and just like really into it. Like from a building standpoint, from a dungeoneering standpoint, I just really fell in love with it. But I tried it a few times, and like initially it was not for me, and now I'm like, I don't know, maybe I grew into the kind of person that was just loving Terraria.
Okay.
It's a great game.
I will give it a try because every time I pick it up, I go, I don't know if this is for me. I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
I mean, I have someone recommending it to me right now.
And I was there. And it's one of those things that's also like, if something's really popular, you know, when people like recommend something, it's like kind of like the more recommendations you get, you're almost like, is it really what I want? Is it maybe a little overhyped? And it's like, actually, no, it was great. So I definitely recommend it.
Well, definitely check out Shell Great Cosplay on Instagram. Links are in the description. Michelle, thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
So lovely.
Doctor.
Yeah, doctor. It sounds like Spies Like Us, doesn't it?
Doctor?
Doctor? Doctor? Doctor? Doctor? Doctor? Doctor? Doctor?
Thank you so much. And we've got this person to say something to you about this subject right now. We are here with our good friends. We're in this awesome bedroom with our good friends, Ron and Brian from Retro Trade. And we were just talking about this awesome bedroom, so I'm not gonna get on the bed with them because that would be awkward. But anyway,
I had the same ones.
these were his. But anyway,
I donated them.
I have a question for the both of you.
I got mine right now. Yep.
I'm trying to think.
Super Mario Brothers 2.
Okay.
I loved the game when I was a kid. I loved all the characters that you got to play. And then as time went on, I thought to myself, why'd I play this game? So it was a little harsh, and I know Mario fans aren't gonna like it, but I'm sorry. All the other Mario games.
There's a lot of people who
great.
hold that one in very high regard.
It's really a dear game to my heart. But then after that, it kind of went downhill to play.
Okay. Good. Ron?
How about you, Killer?
I'm trying to think because I love it launch.
This may take a while.
Yeah. It's trying to think of a game I really didn't like too much. Final Fantasy VII.
Okay.
For some reason, it's a turn-based game, and I'm not a real big fan of that turn-based too much. And with that, people loved it, and for some reason, I never got into it. And it was like one of those games that I really didn't love. And so, but the game that I really did love is Halo.
Okay.
Still love Halo, but the LAN parties before Xbox Live, we had 8 people. 12 people at our house any given night with the LAN party. In the middle of the night, screaming down the hall.
Yep.
And
with an old Cat 5 cable running down the hall.
yes,
It was awesome.
that is probably one of the best memories playing video games.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm amazed we didn't wake parents up. I'm stunned.
I used to have friends over now, and we're talking like after I got married or even right before, and we had 2 TVs set up, and we were doing 8 people in the living room. And you want to talk about a bunch of screen pickers. So, but yeah.
GoldenEye. He had it like
GoldenEye.
GoldenEye was. It's still a fun game.
We always banned the golden gun because, it was what it was.
It was unfair.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Check these guys out on Retro Trade on YouTube
YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. Definitely follow us.
And we have somebody else coming up right now. Everybody, we're here with my good friend Matt, who has the channel Mysticles. Not Mysticals, it's Mysticles, darn it, because it's Greek and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Look up Mysticles on YouTube, of course, also on Facebook, and pretty much every other social you can, but you can look him up later. But we got a question to ask him.
The first one, not so much. The second one, a lot. There's been a lot of games that had to grow on me over the years, and my biggest example is probably Final Fantasy X. When it came out, I was still riding the Final Fantasy VII horse pretty hard, you know what I mean? And that's a pretty divisive entry into the franchise, and I was still on it pretty hard back then. And I played 10 when it came out, and I was like, this ain't 7, this ain't Cloud, you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of similarities and everything. And I put it down, but over the years, I really come to appreciate it. You know, I replayed it, and I found all the different extra things you can do throughout the game, which also reminds me a lot of 7. But
Okay.
there's been several over the years that's grown on me, but 10 is probably my go-to answer for that situation. But I can't think of anything where I used to love it and now I hate it. Like,
Well, that's where I'll get to that later. But I'm gonna set this over here because I think we've gotten comfortable on the couch with Mysticles. Let's see who else can answer this very troubling question right now. I've got my good friend, Mr. Stephen Haywood here from the Tech Buzz Gaming, and of course he is on YouTube. And where else can they find you?
Pretty much everywhere. I mean, you can search the Tech Buzz or my website, ttbgaming.com.
Facebook, etc.
Facebook, you name it. Just like you, everywhere.
Just about
Feels
everywhere.
nice to sit down on a nice chair instead of this plastic.
I'm gonna take one of these home.
I'm thinking we should steal these two and you and I sit in them over there on the panel.
You can do that.
Can we edit that out? Oh.
Well, anyway, we're gonna ask Steven the same question we've been asking him.
So I have one that I liked and I have one that I hated in the reverse like that. So the first one that I loved as a kid, my brother and I used to play it all the time, was Bubble Bobble.
Okay.
Love that thing, that we would play that for hours. Now I can't sit there more than 10 levels and I'm like, okay, I'm done with this. I'm over it. It doesn't hold up like it did when we were kids. The one I hated but now like was Akari Warriors.
Oh, okay.
So
what changed?
The control. So a good buddy of mine, Glenn from Glenn's Retro Show, made the actual controls, because as you know, you have to spin it and for movement while you're firing. It helps pivot the guns. Try playing that on the NES. Try playing. You know, Brian from BD Retro Mods, he might have something, but I'm like, you got to rotate your guy while you're shooting. You can't do that on the NES unless you have like the NES Max. And we were all poor growing up. We didn't have that stuff, right?
No.
So try playing it with the regular stick. So
we were lucky to get a controller to play with.
I remember my parents getting it for me because I thought it was like Contra.
Okay.
And I was like, this is bad. You can't control the guy, right? So being able to get the joysticks changed everything with that. So now I play Akari Warriors a lot. Emulated, of course, on an arcade. So yeah.
Well, that's the best way to do it, especially with that controller. So
controls are everything I'm finding with as I'm older now. When you're a kid, you don't really care, but as I'm getting older, I'm finding like there's a reason they made gates for certain games like Q*bert and Pac-Man.
Yeah.
When we were kids, we didn't care. We just got up there and banged around and hoped for the best. So.
Well, that's like Crazy Climber for the NES. Now that is a Japanese import, but it's unplayable.
Yep.
But if you're going to play the Japanese import of Crazy Climber on the Super Nintendo, it's a very faithful translation, and the controls make sense. So
Yeah.
I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah. So it's. I'm sure there's a ton of games that we could go through.
Oh,
but
yeah.
But I would encourage anybody who watches this, if you're a kid, go revisit those games. I like this. That was a good question. That was a good thing.
And thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me, as always.
We're gonna see Steven here in a little bit at CGC at his booth. But in the meantime, you guys watch this. Hi, Lindsay.
Hi, Scott.
We have Lindsay here from LL Cool Games.
Am I on?
Yeah, I believe you're on. She killed it.
It's tech. I'm not good.
No, it's green. You're on.
Okay, I'm on.
All right, we'll start over again.
Okay.
We have Lindsay from LL Cool Games. Please check out her channel. Is there anywhere else that they can find you on the interwebs?
I am also Lindsay LL Cool Games on Instagram and just LL Cool Games on Facebook.
Excellent. Well, check her out in all those places. Subscribe and send her Christmas cards, whatever you've got. So, never mind me. You know I'm stupid. Anyway.
We had an N64. So when I was in high school, I decided I was gonna do everything, right? I had a game guide for Banjo, and I decided I was gonna get every puzzle piece, every Gingy. I was gonna do everything, okay? There are still 2 puzzle pieces that I do not have. I can tell you exactly where they are, right? Because of the guide.
I love it.
But I couldn't do it. Like, so for me, that game like kind of deleted itself almost.
Okay.
It was just a little bit too hard, and then it was like, fine, I don't even care anymore. So those kind of, busy work, gathering kind of games just aren't my game. And I think it goes back to that, right? Where it was like, oh man, I'm gonna be able to do all this and I'm gonna feel so powerful, and I have my cheek, I have a handhold, and I still couldn't do it. So that's definitely not my genre.
Okay.
Yes. To go the other way, I think maybe some of the like the speed puzzle kind of games, not Tetris. Everybody loves some kind of Tetris. But more, I know the husband and his family growing up played a lot of like the Pokemon puzzle kind of games and that kind of stuff, which I never would have touched. That just isn't something that would have been like, oh yeah, let's try this.
Yeah.
And now I think it's just because I've been exposed over and over and they talk about it all the time.
Let me try it.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, okay. And so it's kind of become one of those like back burner, especially now that some of those Pokemon games are on the Switch Online.
Yeah.
So you can just click on it and I'll just play this stupid, you know, like the Ekans ring toss. It's so fun. Why does that exist? Like, who decided, right, that this dumb, you know, ring toss game, and then you get the gold ones that pop up, you get extra points. It's just like a time burner.
Yeah.
But they're so fun and it's so simple, and it's one that you come out of and you're like, oh, now I'm happy, right? Which is the whole point of video games to begin with. So yeah.
Awesome. I'm not the biggest Tetris fan either, but I have found some version.
Something for everybody. Yeah.
Because I think it's called Pack Attack. That's the one that I'm like, okay, it's Tetris-y, but it's not. So it's kind of a. So I get it. I get it because like with Tetris, I'm like, no.
Right, but
So,
there's one. There has to be, and like watching them playing the Tetris competition, and especially, did you hear them at all yesterday? They go 3, 2, 1, Tetris.
No.
It's like what?
That's cheesy.
But
I love it.
Exactly, it's perfect, and it makes it accessible for everybody who's playing to sit down and play a stupid, head-to-head Tetris. Why would you want to do that? That's miserable.
Great answers, and thank you for being on. We're going to be checking out someone else right about now. Hi.
Hi.
We're trying to do this as nonchalantly and as unprofessionally as possible.
That's the best part of it, though. I love this setup, though. This is great. Oh, God, I love this.
It's great. I actually used to have a desk very similar to this one, but it didn't wrap around. It was just that and that.
Oh, I had a desk almost identical to this one. Well, only in here is where I kept my CDRs. So when I looked in here, saw little Crash Bandicoot.
I love it.
I was just like, I was hoping my CDRs would still be in there, all my bootlegs.
And I do have 2 of those though. The IMAX, yeah.
I know it.
But we have Mr. John Riggs from YouTube and other socials, of course. I'm sure. I know you're on Facebook and et cetera, et cetera. So everybody should know Mr. John Blue Riggs here. Or is it Blue John Riggs? I forget.
John Blue Riggs.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, but
my radio name was Blue when I first started back in 2001 because I had cobalt blue hair at the time. So and there was already too many Johns, so everyone just called me Blue. And then when I was like, hey, you need an email address. Okay, well, I don't know, John Blue Riggs, and that became my screen name for life now.
Okay.
So.
Well, anyway, I've been asking everybody a certain question. This is what we do. We YouTubers like to ask each other questions because inquiring minds want to ask questions.
Put them on the spot.
Yeah.
Answer your first question first. Ice Climbers.
Yeah.
Ice Climber. Man, like I played because it was one of the original NES games. It was one of the launch titles. So I was like, well, of course I have to like it. It's a Nintendo game. I'm supposed to like this game.
Yep.
And you just kind of make your way to the top and everything like that. But you go back to it now, especially on like NES Remix or even the new, the one that just came out, the NWC Championship NES edition for the Switch. And the jumping mechanic is all off. The gravity is weird. Like you have to jump a certain way, or sometimes you can make it through the blocks, not so much. It's just frustrating for no reason. Is it frustrating? So Ice Climber is definitely one of those games. I played a lot of that growing up.
Yeah.
And I should have played literally anything else. Maybe not Deadly Towers, but literally anything else than Ice Climber. So that's what I still go back to it sometimes just to remind myself how much I despise. If it didn't have that, if I could fix those jumping mechanics, I think I'd like it a lot. But that's what did that. One game I didn't get, I didn't understand, I didn't know anything about until I had a friend who said, no, you're playing it wrong. It plays like this, like you're talking about. There's a game called Mindle Palace for the NES. It's a hidden gem. I hate to say the word hidden gem, but you know what I mean when I say hidden gem. Look up Mindle Palace. When I first played it, I was like, it's weird because you're on a grid with these cards, but when you hit the button, the cards kind of shuffle to the side and there's enemies on stage.
Okay.
And I'm like, is this it? Is it like, what am I doing here? The cards shuffle and then there's like a power up on the other side. I didn't quite get it. And I had a friend of mine who was like, no, like keep playing it. I think you're going to enjoy it the more you play it. And sure enough, when I got into it, oh, you shuffle the cards so the enemies crash into the wall, that's how they die. And when you do that, you can move on to the next stage.
Okay.
Different enemies have different attacks, so instead of moving left and right, they might spin around, or they might, go underneath and come back up. So you have to have different strategies to do that, or certain cards will shuffle all of them all the way to the side, but it'll come back to get you too, to push you into the wall. It got the strategy in that game, and super, super fun. Mindel Palace is definitely a game where I didn't get it forever until literally maybe 6 years ago or something like that.
Okay.
My friend said, please play this game again. And sure enough, I did. And it's funny, now it's one of my favorite NES games with no nostalgia goggles because I didn't grow up playing it.
So Mindel Palace, I think anyone who has never played it, maybe we should give it a try. And then if you do have it, or maybe if you've grabbed it recently, or maybe you're here at CGC and you actually bought it while you were here, if you grab that and you like that game, let us know in the comments.
It's just one of those games you're shuffling through, and the box art looks like nothing about gameplay value. It just looks like a collection of cartoon characters. It's Game Freaks. Before Pokemon, there's Mindel Palace, and I was like, wait a minute, it's all starting to tie together too. But yeah, it's just one of those games that you would just pass by because you're like, I don't know what this game is. The name means nothing, and the box art means nothing. I'm gonna keep moving. But man,
okay.
Yeah, check out Mindel Palace. I don't know how much it goes for off the top of my head. I'd say maybe $20.
All right.
So not bad.
So not a bad game. Well, we'll check that out. And if you're one of the Game Closet minions who doesn't know who this gentleman is, check him out. I'm sure you know who he is.
I don't know about that.
Check him out for sure, and subscribe to his channel, and check him out on Facebook and all the other places. John, thank you so much.
I appreciate you, man.
And
always good to see you.
And it's always good to see you. And
Yeah.
first time I actually met this gentleman, because we've been in videos together, but we've never actually been in the same room.
Yeah.
So now he's gonna run as fast as he can. So
He's taller than I expected, by the way.
just because of my hat. We have something else coming up right now. Oh, I should subscribe. Cheese balls?
No thanks.
Oh, Frank,
Yes, Scott.
tell the lovely folks where they can find you before we get started here. Because if I get to the end and forget, that would be a shame.
That would be a horrible shame.
I'd be such a terrible person.
Well, if you're looking for me, I am all over the internet. I have a podcast called The Retro Wildlands that you can find on all the major pod services. I think I found every single one of them and have inserted my show into it.
That's great.
I'm also on YouTube. I have a couple videos up there as well. Done a couple game reviews, so you can check me out on YouTube as well. Retro Wildlands. I pop up in most of those search engines.
And if you don't check him out, shame on you. Because he's sitting here in this lovely 80s living room, and you've got nothing better to do. So check him out. But I have a question for him, and you know you've been watching this video, and we're going to ask him the same question, and let's see what Frank's response is. So I've asked all the other YouTube personalities, because that's what we are, personalities. We're not celebrities, especially when you're me.
I hold you in such high regard, Doctor.
I don't know why.
It's a very good question. The one game that comes immediately to my mind, and it's actually because, well, shameless plug, I played it for my own podcast.
That's not shameless.
It's the Nintendo game based on the movie Top Gun.
Okay.
Now, where I fall in this is I love Top Gun. Top Gun is my absolute favorite movie of all time. It's the best popcorn blockbuster flick I've ever seen. Used to watch it a ton when I was at my grandmother's house. It's wonderful. I could not get into this game when I was young. And I don't know if you played it before, but
I've seen it.
A lot of people call it the crash into the ocean simulator, right? I couldn't get past the first mission. It was just awful. But I loved the movie enough. I still played it as a kid, but after a while, I'm just like, I can't do it anymore. And while I argue it's still not a great game, now that I'm an adult and I kind of understand the nuances of how to move around and how to land the plane.
Yeah, I've heard that landing the plane is very difficult too.
It can be, but once you kind of know what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to look at your altitude versus your speed and put your nose in the right spot, it took me a little while. I would dare say I am a landing on the aircraft carrier specialist.
Very good.
And once I got to that point and I got to later levels and I really started to see some of the ways that the game was designed for the player, again, still not the greatest game ever, but it really grew on me to a point where I wanted to tell the world about it in a podcast and just showcase my favorite movie of all time.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to check it out just to see how many times I crash into it before I give up. And then I'm listening to you here going, no, don't give up. give it a try. So, okay, very good. Excellent, excellent. Because I have definitely heard of how difficult the game, well, people say that it is. And yeah, that's pretty cool. So Top Gun, if it's something you gave up on, maybe it's something you ought to listen to Frank here and you know, give it another try. Be a little more patient. Why not, right?
Yeah, definitely give it a chance. And if you still don't like it, it's okay. At least you gave it that second chance. I think it'll be worth it.
Frank, my friend, thank you for answering the question.
Absolutely.
But check him out on the Retro Wildlands. And we've got, I think, one person left that we have to ask a question. And I already know who that is, and so do you. And here he is. This doesn't work. Oh, this does. There we go. Obviously, I'm the last person that has to answer this question, so this might be a hot take, so please take it with a grain of salt. Anybody out there who's a huge fan, please don't turn off the video and unsubscribe. Or, if I'm just that stupid, go ahead. The game that I used to hold in such high regard, but I cannot go back and play it to save me, is anything early on from Resident Evil with tank controls. I used to love playing Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, even the first one, and I loved Resident Evil 4, but with the tank controls, I think I would rather have eye surgery than play that again. I can't. I'm sorry to you fans out there who can still go back and do it. It just proves that you're a more patient fan than I am. But the remakes, oh my gosh, the remakes, I can totally play those. And I'm really love 2. Of course, if you saw my video for 4, I love that one as well. Now 3 I haven't gotten to yet, and I've heard it's kind of a little lesser, but because it has that action and I can move and I can shoot while I'm moving, and now the graphics in the other ones, yeah, a little dated of course. Maybe not on 4, but on 2, 1, 3, little 6th gen, that kind of a thing. I solved 4 and 2 back in the day, and I got real close to 3, and I don't know what happened. I think I just kind of gave up, or maybe I was working, but nowadays I just can't do it. But anyway, I would like to thank everybody who was here at CGC and came to CGC this weekend, and I'd like to thank everyone who was kind enough to take just a couple minutes out to answer this question. Please check in the description for all the links. Please subscribe and follow them on all your social media. They're all great people, and they all have really wonderful channels, and I appreciate you watching this, and please comment below. I love your comments, and I love answering them. Thank you so much, and we'll see you very, very soon. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like Game Closet's videos, hit that like button real quick. Please consider subscribing and sticking around for more videos. There's a ton of fun and funny stuff here for you, so click one of the boxes on screen and I'd be happy to show you more in Dr. Scott's Game Closet.